C'est gentil d'être venu.
Indigne de vous.
Je suis flatté.
Et vous avez même droit à la caméra. Regardez.
Oula. Attention, arrêtez tout. Coiffeuse, à
Non, la bouteille Michelin, il faut faire la publicité.
Voilà. Non plus que la maquilleuse est venue. Bonne journée.
God morgen. Det her bliver et rigtig vigtigt møde blandt EU's udenrigsministre. Krigen i Ukraine, Ruslands aggression og vores svar derpå og alle implikationerne omkring det vil selvfølgelig være hovedtemaet. Det er vigtigt, at vi fortsætter det unikke og stærke sammenhold, vi har i Vesten, også i EU, i forhold til at svare på Ruslands aggressioner. Det gælder også sanktionspolitikken, hvor Danmark arbejder for den stærkest mulige, også nye sanktionspakke, som vi kan blive enige om. Det har været vores holdning hele tiden. Det skal have så store omkostninger som overhovedet muligt for Putin, den krig, han fører ulovligt i Ukraine, både på slagmarken ved vores våbenhjælp, men også økonomisk med de sanktioner, som vi indfører i fællesskab i EU, men også videre. Så det bliver et hovedtema. Vi har også landene fra Vestbalkan med på møde i dag, og det er vigtigt, fordi vi kan se, at Rusland puster til ilden rundt omkring os i Europas nærområder, så det er vigtigt, at vi får drøftet, hvad vores modsvar er til det, og at de lande på Vestbalkan, som alle andre europæiske lande, selvfølgelig har ret til som demokratier at leve i fred og sikkerhed med deres naboer og ikke lade sig intimidere eller provokere fra Ruslands side. Og så har vi også den ukrainske udenrigsminister, min gode ven Dmytro Kuleba, med på mødet, udover den kanadiske. Så det bliver en omfattende og vigtig dag, hvor sikkerhedspolitik og vores fælles værdier, kampen for vores demokrati og fælles værdier, det står allerøverst på dagsordenen.
I forhold til sanktioner, så er det jo snart 2 uger siden, at kommissionen foreslog endnu en sanktionspakke, den 6. af slagsen. Der er stadigvæk ikke enighed om den. Hvad fortæller det dig?
Jamen, vi er langt i vores sanktioner. Nu er vi inde og røre områder som energi, mere specifikt olie. Og der er det klart, at det er noget, hvor man kan sige, sanktionerne får store konsekvenser for visse EU-lande. Men der skal ikke herske nogen tvivl om, hvad den danske holdning er. Vi går ind for de hårdest mulige sanktioner, vi kan blive enige om, også på energiområdet og på olieområdet. Og jeg håber, vi når til enighed meget snart.
Lige præcis det med enigheden har jo været afgørende for EU hele vejen igennem, siden krigen begyndte. Altså 12 dage, snart 14 dage siden den her sanktionspakke blev introduceret. Er enigheden ved at smuldre?
Nej, det er ikke min oplevelse, men det er klart, at vi er dybt nede i nogle sanktioner, som sagt får store konsekvenser for enkelte medlemslande, og det skal vi se på, hvordan vi håndterer. Men budskabet er meget klart. Vi skal nok få vedtaget en sanktionspakke, og Danmarks holdning er så hård som muligt, så hurtigt som muligt. Det er et af elementerne i at gøre krigen, som Putin laver i Ukraine, så omkostningsfuldt som overhovedet muligt. Vi øger også våbenhjælpen til ukrainerne, også fra EU's side. Og så har jeg også lige været til uformelt møde i NATO, og de 2 organisationer står også side om side i kampen mod den aggression og den autoritære tankegang, som Putin står for.
Det er jo Ungarn, der først og fremmest spiller ben for det her. Så hvad ser du løsning på det her? Er det en længere overgangsfrist for dem, eller skal man pille oliedelen helt ud, eller hvad tænker du der?
Jamen det er klart, at her forhandler man i øjeblikket, som I alle kan se, også i forhold til, hvad overgangen er for visse lande, der er særlig afhængige af olie. Og det illustrerer jo bare, at Europa og Danmark, alle de europæiske lande, vi skal gøre os uafhængige af russisk energi, både olie og gas, så hurtigt som overhovedet muligt. Og den vigtige opgave, den har presset Danmark også på for. Og vi skal også få den her pakke på plads. Men der er nogle lande, for hvem den her pakke gør rigtig ondt, fordi de er så afhængige af blandt andet import af olie.
Hvad kommer du til at sige til dine ungarske kolleger derinde? Altså, kan du godt forstå de bekymringer, de har fra Ungarns side?
Altså, det er jo intet i forhold til, hvad ukrainerne er udsat for i øjeblikket med en russisk aggression, med den situation, vi står sikkerhedspolitisk i Europa. Der skal vi indføre de hårdest mulige sanktioner, inklusiv på energiområdet. Det er den danske holdning, og det er også det, jeg vil gøre fuldstændig klart. Og jeg har også forventning, at vi når en pakke, vi får forhandlet en pakke meget snart, så det jeg er sikker på, at det nok skal falde på plads. Men
i forhold til, at man stadigvæk ikke kan blive enige her snart 14 dage efter, altså hvilket signal sender det til din, som du kalder ham, gode ven, kollega, som kommer fra Ukraine? Altså hvad er det for en signal, vi sender til dem om, at vi ikke kan blive enige om det her?
Men vi skal nok blive enige. Det vil Danmark arbejde benhårdt for. Og hvis vi ser de 5 pakker, vi allerede har vedtaget, så har det været en historisk enighed, ikke bare blandt EU-landene, men også med USA og Canada, Storbritannien og landene i Asien. Så vi har en historisk front og enighed blandt Vesten, der gør rigtig ondt på Rusland, men vi er klar til at gå videre, og jeg er sikker på, at vi nok skal lande den pakke meget snart.
Hvis Ungarn får en undtagelse på f.eks. 5 år, når man skal indfase den her udfasning af olien, så er det vel ikke et historisk samlet EU, der går videre, så er det vel et splittet EU, et EU i flere hastigheder, der indfører de her sanktioner? Nej,
jeg tror bare, vi må anerkende, at det desværre sådan er i dag, at nogle lande er meget afhængige af russisk energiimport, olie og gas. Det er derfor, vi skal ud af den afhængighed så hurtigt som muligt med den grønne omstilling, men også ved at finde alternativer til russisk olie og gas. Og så er der nogle enkelte lande her, som man skal finde nogle løsninger på. Det forhandler vi benhårdt om, men den danske holdning er fuldstændig klar. Vi skal indføre de hårdest mulige sanktioner, også på energiområdet, som vi kan blive enige om.
Man er kendt for at være en af de mest pro-russiske ledere, der er i Europa. Er det det, der er årsagen til det her?
Nej, det vil jeg ikke spekulere i. Altså, jeg synes jo, at vi har vist et unikt sammenhold. Vi har vedtaget 5 sanktionspakker. Vi er godt på vej til at vedtage den 6. Og for Danmark, som sagt, så er det helt afgørende, at vi indfører de hårdest mulige sanktioner, også på energiområdet. Det her skal gøre ondt på Rusland, det skal ramme Putin og hans krigsapparat, det skal have store konsekvenser. Målet er jo selvfølgelig at stoppe den forfærdelige aggression og ulovlig krig, som Rusland fører i Ukraine med kæmpe menneskelige konsekvenser, med død og ødelæggelse, som russerne trækker efter sig. Og der skal vi fortsætte det her stærke europæiske sammenhold. Tak.
Mr. Minister.
Good morning. Today the Foreign Affairs Council is convening to discuss two topics. The first topic is the Western Balkans, and we also have a chance to discuss with the ministers from Western Balkan countries, and I think it's very important, especially this time. And Finland, of course, is a great supporter of the European perspective for the Western Balkan countries, and Finland also thinks that it would be very good to start accession negotiation with North Macedonia and Albania without delay. As for the situation in Ukraine, we also have a chance to discuss the situation with the ministers from Canada and Ukraine. And I think it's a very important issue that we continue our support for Ukraine and also to alleviate the very bleak humanitarian situation in the country. This meeting, of course, also provides us a chance to update a bit on Finland's current discussion on NATO membership. The government of Finland yesterday submitted a report on Finland's NATO accession, and the Parliament of Finland is discussing it today as we speak. Thank you very much.
Mitä aiotte kertoa ministerikollegoille tästä ajankohtaisesta tilanteesta, että Suomi on pian hakemassa tällaista NATO-jäsenyyttä?
Aion päivittää tämän tilanteen. Meillähän annettiin ensimmäinen selonteko jo aikaisemmin, jota eduskunta on nyt käsitellyt siitä, että miten Suomen turvallisuusympäristö on muuttunut. Ja nyt sitten on aika vetää ne johtopäätökset, eli siksi eilen presidentin ja hallituksen ulko- ja turvallisuuspoliittisen valiokunnan päätös oli, että suositellaan, että eduskunta käy keskustelun siitä, että sitten voidaan, jos eduskunta voi käsitellä tämän selonteon, niin presidentti voi sitten päättää, että Suomi hakee NATO-jäsenyyttä. Ja tässä tilanteessa on tulkittu, että NATO-jäsenyys on Suomelle kaikkein paras turvallisuuden tae sen lisäksi, että meillä on vahvat omat kansalliset puolustusvoimat.
Aiotteko pyytää muilta EU-kumppaneilta tukea tälle ajanjaksolle nyt, kun Suomi lähtee tähän hakemukseen?
Ehdottomasti, ja näitä keskusteluitahan on käyty tässä pitkin viikkoja, eli me tehdään tosi paljon sitä työtä, että käydään ihan päivittäin ja viikoittain keskusteluja eri tasolla, virkatasolla ja poliittisella tasolla NATO-maiden kanssa ja eurooppalaisten ja transatlanttisten kumppaneiden kanssa siitä, että on tärkeää saada sitä myös sitä tukea ihan julkisesti. Ja me ollaan itse asiassa saatu erittäin paljon sitä tukea NATO-maista, että on sillä tavalla tosi hyvä mieli siitä. Ja eilenkin tuli tietoa, että Saksassa on päätetty käyttää tämmöistä fast track päätöksentekomenettelyä tämän Suomen ja Ruotsin NATO-asian käsittelyssä, ja myös eilen tuli sosiaalisessa mediassa huomasin voimakasta tukea Kanadasta. Eli tämä on myös hyvä kokous sitten käydä vielä näitä keskusteluja. Meidän viestihän on se, että NATO-jäsenyys toki parantaa meidän turvallisuutta, mutta me olemme myös niin kuin turvallisuuden tuottaja ja olisimme tosi vahva NATO-jäsen ja sillä osaamisella ja kapasiteetilla, mitä Suomella on tarjota.
Entä Ukrainan tilanne? Odotatteko, että pakotteet nousevat nyt ministerien pöytään tänäänkin?
Katsotaan nousevatko, että Suomihan on ollut siinä linjassa, että kannatetaan aina sitä, että pakotteita voidaan asteittain kiristää, mikäli tarve.
Miten Unkari voitaisiin saada tähän pakotepakettiin mukaan?
No niitä keskusteluja varmaan käydään sitten. Kiitos.
Minister James Bays, Al Jazeera. How worried are you about Hungary's position on the oil ban?
Well, I think these meetings are a very good chance to discuss various positions, and I believe that there might be different issues than questions that countries want to raise, but Finland has been a great supporter of sanctions and also gradually strengthening the sanctions if needed.
And how important is it that the sanctions are strengthened to include oil?
I think it's very important to do our utmost that we can make strong statement as an EU that we need to, and also it's the issue for us also about energy independence, sustainable energy independence. So I think these are very important discussions in this regard as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The meeting is starting.
Main issues discussed today, and also it's very interesting. What's about the sixth package of sanctions? Still, there are not any.
We'll see. And Finland has been a great supporter of the sanctions in terms of gradually raising the sanction if needed. And it's very good that we have a unity in Europe in terms of sanctions to give a strong message to Russia.
And what is the reason of that you have not unity yet? Can you specify it for us?
These are always these packages need discussions, and these discussions are now these are being held on different levels. Civil servants have been discussing, and the politicians are discussing. I'm sure that we will come to some kind of solution that is good for everyone.
Balkan ministers will be also here. What views?
I think we have to go. Sorry.
NATO accession and your.
I'm so sorry.
So good morning to everyone. So I look forward to our discussion on the Western Balkans today with our partners as well. The region is facing many challenges, and the war in Ukraine has negative impact, negative implication. And in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we still do not have the election law that guarantees equality of three constituent peoples and others. And this is not good for the stability of the country, and we need and should make a final push just for the electoral reform, as it is the way also way towards the candidate status. Today we need to send strong, clear message, signal of our support to the EU accession of our Western Balkans partner. First of all, what is necessary, and it's to start negotiation with accession negotiation with Albania and North Macedonia, and advance on visa liberalization with Kosovo. Unfortunately, in Ukraine we see more destruction and a loss of lives, and therefore we need and should to increase a pressure on Russia to stop its aggression. Croatia supports the sixth package of sanctions. Croatia also can contribute to energy security given its geostrategic position and its infrastructure. I will brief my ministers, my colleagues, about visit by Prime Minister Andrej Plenković and myself to Irpin, Bucha and Kiev. Last week, Croatia will continue to stand by Ukraine. I look forward to our exchange with Minister Dmitro Kuleba later today, and we will hear how we can help what could we do even more to help Ukraine. So, thank you very much.
What do you make of Hungary's position, and do you think you can get agreement?
So, we have today a very, very busy agenda, and everything's on our busy agenda. So, thank you very much.
President Macron's proposal for a separate organisation for accession countries. What do you make of that? Is it an insult to them after waiting all this time?
Okay. Yeah, in fact, of course, we are in favor of enlargement, and when it comes just in the Western Balkans, it's our immediate neighborhood, and as I said on the outset, that we should really understand a clear message and signal just for those countries who are expecting the European perspective, just to relax the atmosphere and situation, and to prevent influence and domino effect from third countries. Good. Thank you.
Today is another day to discuss about...
Hello, good morning. I would like to start from saying that the decisions that Europe has been making during the last 2.5 months and will be making today and in the near future will define Europe for decades to come. We will be remembered by the decisions we make. Therefore, it is imperative that we make the right ones. So first of all, when it comes to enlargement, we have to make sure that the negotiations with North Macedonia and Albania have to start immediately. Unfortunately, no country should be able to veto such a strategic decision and hold whole European Union and the whole policy at a halt. Same goes for the candidate status for Ukraine. The whole package has to move forward. The second thing is the restoration of Ukraine. Europe will be remembered the way how did we perform in this? Did we manage to restore the country back even better than it was before? Can we start the spring of Ukraine again? We did some right decisions when it comes to sanctions. We did some right decisions with military assistance to Ukraine, but it's definitely not the end. I would say that we're still somewhere at the middle with our decisions. And if we want to make Europe a geopolitical one, a stronger one, now is the time to do that.
And concerning the sanction package, it seems you're a little bit stuck in the discussions. Why is it so hard at the moment?
Absolutely. It is one of the things that, again, I should mention that this is how we will be remembered. Either the Union who managed to go forward and to send a very clear message to Russia, or who got stuck. And now, unfortunately, we are the whole Union is being held hostage by one member state who cannot help us find their consensus.
What is the solution?
Well, one of the solutions could be help Ukraine to decouple itself from Russian oil and gas, because, as you know, the member state who cannot help us find their consensus is dependent on the traffic from Ukraine. So if the traffic would be stopped from Ukraine, the sanctions question would be solved altogether.
So what are you going to be saying today to your Hungarian colleague?
Sorry?
What are you going to be saying to your Hungarian colleague today?
Well, the same thing as always. We have to agree. We cannot be held hostage.
Was it clever to talk about the sanctions before talking to Hungary? Maybe it would have been better to talk to Hungary before going out with that.
Well, I mean, we've seen things that certain decisions were announced before the Council would sit and discuss. So I'm not sure whether it's always very productive to do that, but it is as it is. I mean, we have political leaders who, show leadership, but then, I mean, work to bring the results to action need to follow.
Was it a good idea to put the sanctions package on the table knowing that some member states will not agree?
Well, we were not actually sure, because I think that the Commission really offered some solutions which we were looking at as a too relaxed, so to say. If we were talking almost about the ban for oil that would start, the phase-out that would end by the 24th, December 31st of 24. So giving almost 2.5 years for that. But that's a very, very broad scope. So I think that everybody expected that this will be enough. And I cannot explain you why it isn't.
Was it a mistake of the line just first of all to go to Hungary and not to go to Czechia and Slovakia?
I don't know. I mean, I know that, she's doing, I'm sure that she's doing all she can.
Mr. Minister,
Thank you.
You have mentioned candidate status for Ukraine, Georgia and Moldova also.
Yes, absolutely.
And what do you think about it?
I agree.
Good morning.
Good morning, bonjour. Donc, Mélanie Joly, je suis ministre des Affaires étrangères du Canada. Mélanie Joly, I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Canada. It is a pleasure to be with my good friend, Joseph Borrell. Today, we have had many conversations over the past weeks because, of course, we've been united in fighting Russia and making sure that we isolate politically, diplomatically, and economically Russia. We have had strong cooperation when it comes to sanctions, and of course, Canada is one of the most European countries in the world while being fiercely North American, and so I look forward to our conversations about energy and food security, talking a lot about democratic resilience and disinformation, and also how can we continue to partner on many other issues that are of economic nature.
Thank you, Melanie. It's a great pleasure to have this meeting today with Canada. Canada is one of the most reliable partners. We have an association agreement that covers almost everything. Mm-hmm. Canada is pushing us a lot in order to advance on the sanctions and to present a united front against the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We are also very much worried about the consequences of this war all around the world. We are going to face a deep economic crisis because of the price increases on electricity and food, and we have to unite our forces in order to explain to the world that it's not because of our sanctions, it's because of the war itself. Russia is blocking the Ukrainian wheat from going out Ukraine and reaching the markets. We will discuss about it, and I am sure that we will continue reinforcing our already strong unity and association.
Indeed.
High Representative, can you give us your view on Hungary's position right now with regard to your next package of sanctions? Will you be able to win Hungary over?
I would like to stress the importance of the presence of Canada here, and we will discuss the sanctions that Canada and the European Union is taking. You know, Melanie, we are 27, and I need to convince the 27. Among them, there are some ones who has more problems than others. It is an objective situation that some member states face more difficulties because they are more dependent, because they are landlocked, because they don't have the possibility of receiving directly tankers. They only have oil through pipelines and coming from Russia. So certainly we will discuss about it, and we'll do our best in order to deblock the situation. I cannot ensure that this is going to happen because the positions are quite strong. But I think that if we understand the particular situations of some member states, and all of us make an effort in order to present a united front against Russia, we'll succeed.
But one of your ministers just said that you were taking hostage by one country concerning the package. I'm sorry that I'm going back to this question. So how will you get out of this situation being hostile?
As always, discussing, trying to understand the reasons of everybody. My role is not to blame anyone, but to try to build consensus.
How about the support for Finland and Sweden who are about to join the NATO? What kind of support Canada and EU can give those countries?
Well, not only are we in favor of accession of Finland and Sweden, but also we're in favor of quick accession. Canada shares many things in common when it comes to values and also the northern reality with Finland and Sweden. I had the chance to welcome Ann Linde 2 weeks ago in Ottawa. I had the chance to go to Helsinki. So our goal is to be amongst the first countries to be able to ratify the accession of Sweden and Finland, because we know that the interim period between the accession demand and the ratification must be shortened. Our goal also is to work with like-minded countries to make sure that also they provide for a quick accession process.
Let me express. Sorry.
To ratify?
Yeah, how long would it take to go through the parliamentary process?
Ratification.
I've already had the chance to talk with my opposition critics. The Prime Minister is very seized of the matter, and we think that it could take days for Canada. So that's why we want to be one of the first countries to do so. And I think our goal is to also work with other countries that may have some bilateral issues. In that sense, I've been in close contact with my Turkish counterpart because at the end of the day, we need to meet this moment. This is historic, and it is way more important than any bilateral issues.
Let me stress my strong support to Sweden and Finland. Some minutes ago, I had a conversation with the Swedish minister, who was kind enough to call me to inform that the process is started, that they are going to inform the king, and that there is a strong support for this decision inside the Swedish society and the Swedish political spectrum. So I think that the European Union member states will support this decision, and I hope that we could override the opposition of some members of NATO. And also, not only Canada, today, apart from you, Melanie, we are receiving the visit of the 6 foreign ministers of the 6 Western Balkan countries. It is a way of showing how much important is for us, the Western Balkans, how much important is the adhesion process. I had a meeting with them a couple of days ago here in Brussels, and today they will be sitting in the Foreign Affairs Council to discuss with us about the situation in the Western Balkans, very much affected by the crisis, by the economic crisis. And also we will have a conversation by video conference with the Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Mr. Kuleba. You will be also with us,
of course,
attending this meeting and discussing with him. And in order to know which is the last situation in the ground, Ukrainians are continue resisting very fiercely, and we will continue providing them with arms to resist.
And the Ukraine and Georgia and Moldova are waiting candidate status. What is your message for the...
Sorry, I didn't hear. Can you start again?
Georgians, Moldova, and also Ukraine are waiting for candidate status next month. Do you think that you will have a positive answer for them?
I cannot advance what the Commission opinion will be, but we are working on it much quicker than ever.
And a question to you both. Sweden, Finland, you both say you supported quick accession. With Ukraine, it does feel the conversation never even got to that point. Is there perhaps a moment to reflect that the NATO application for Ukraine could have been handled differently?
Well, on the question of Ukraine, first and foremost, Canada has always been in favor of the open door policy. That has been the case, and we're among the first countries to ratify many of the countries now that are part of NATO and that applied to join NATO in the 90s. Now, we have been very much involved in supporting Ukrainians' negotiations and to make sure that there's a strong security mechanism. At this point, we want to continue to offer this strategic technical advice to the Ukrainian negotiators. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is through economic sanctions, through sending heavy artillery, we're strengthening Ukrainians at the negotiation table. And that's what we need to do. And therefore, in that context, we will continue to advise them.
What kind of heavy weapons will be financed for the next 500 million euros?
I couldn't tell them heavy weapons. They are the ordinary weapons that you use in an attrition war. Artillery and armored charge. The normal weapons that you use in this kind of war.
Are there any ways
we have to leave.
to help Azovstal? I don't know if it's...
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. We have very important discussions in front of us today as we speak. The war in Ukraine is still ongoing, war which was unjustifiably and unprovocably started by Russia That also, of course, means that we here at the European Union must continue to support Ukraine. We must continue to give to Ukraine humanitarian aid, also defensive military aid, but also to discuss with Ukrainians how we can support them to reconstruct their country. At the same time, for us, it's very important that Russia is taken accountable for this war in Ukraine, also that the persons who have committed or are related to war crimes in Ukraine are brought to justice. Here today, of course, we also speak about the sixth package of the sanctions, and I truly hope that we make the progress. This package will be adopted, and also oil will be included to this package. From another area, of course, we are going to discuss also today enlargement towards Western Balkan countries, and we have long overdue with regard to accession talks with Albania and North Macedonia. So I truly hope that we make also progress here. Thank you.
Good morning. We will have today another very busy Foreign Affairs Council agenda, and we will start with the meeting of the Joint Ministerial Committee with Canada. And I think it's a great opportunity to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the provisional application of the Strategic Partnership Agreement. And the declaration that we will adopt today will focus on the commitment of Canada to the security of Europe, which is very important, especially from the perspective of Romania, which benefited a lot from the Canadian troops' presence for air policing in Romania. And we hope that this partnership will continue. This is another opportunity to celebrate the transatlantic partnership. We will focus, of course, today on Ukraine and the effects of the crisis generated by the attack of Russia against this European country. And we cannot avoid, of course, a discussion on the sixth package of sanctions. Romania is supportive of the package and of the solutions which were proposed and discussed by now. We hope that a solution will be reached and will bring all European member states together in support of the adoption of this package. Of course, we will discuss about the other measures of support that the member states have extended to Ukraine. We will discuss, and I will present the support granted by Romania in the humanitarian field, because we are approaching 1 million refugees who have crossed the Ukrainian-Romanian border, and the humanitarian dimension of our support is quite important. I will also inform the colleagues about our effort to support the economy of Ukraine by transiting the Ukrainian grain and other products through Romania towards third destinations by using the ports on the Danube, Galați, but also the Constanța harbor at the Black Sea, which is the largest port in the Black Sea. Already more than 120,000 tons of grain from Ukraine have left from Constanța to other destinations around the world. It's very important to fight against the food crisis, which is very close to at the horizon for many countries. And then, of course, we will discuss about Western Balkans, and this is a very important discussion as well, because we need on one hand to move forward with the start of the accession negotiations for Albania and North Macedonia. On the other hand, we have to step up our engagement in political but also in concrete forms and perspectives for the countries in the Western Balkans.
How will you convince your Hungarian colleague in order to vote in favor to this?
Well, I'm not going to get into the details because the negotiations are going on, but I'm looking forward to the debate today in the Council and to hear the arguments of our colleagues from Hungary, and also to see what solutions can be found in order to make this adoption of the sixth package possible. I think we need it. We need it now.
So, Minister, as you know, today you will meet your Georgian colleagues here.
Yes.
What will be your main message? And you know that three trio countries we are expecting decision about our European perspective. So will you support?
Romania is one of the biggest supporters of the European and Euro-Atlantic perspective of Georgia, and we have supported Georgia quite a lot, including during the preparation of the reply to the questionnaire of the Commission. And we think that the place of Georgia, as the place of Ukraine, and as the place of the Republic of Moldova are within the European Union because they belong to the European family.
And do you think the organization should reach the consensus and grant
well, I think it's important that the opinions of the Commission be issued at the same time, and also, of course, this would be the basis for the discussion for guidance within the European Council. I think granting the candidate status for all three countries, Ukraine, Republic of Moldova, and Georgia, is important because this is not the end of the process. It is just the start of a very important process, and these countries need a roadmap for reforms. And of course, after that, it would be up to each and every country involved in the process to go on this path and to perform. And we are ready, Romania, to support this process. We think that these decisions are needed and the momentum should not be lost.
Timetable for June?
Well, I think it's important, as I mentioned, to have a decision as soon as possible. And after that, it will be up to these countries to move forward on this very important journey. And we will be there together by them to support.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And you will make your collective decision?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Minister, later today you're meeting with Maroš Šefčovič. The hopes of the British government is very much that there'll be division among the EU member states and pressure from Poland and other countries to give more concessions on the Northern Ireland Protocol. What chance do you think do you give that of other EU countries coming out on the side of Britain in this?
Well, look, I've just had breakfast with a whole series of my colleagues, and I was naturally asked what the status was in the context of what the UK have been saying in relation to the Northern Ireland Protocol and the disruption of Brexit more generally. And so certainly the feedback I'm getting is that the EU is rock solid on this issue. Of course, what we want to do is resolve the issues with our friends in the United Kingdom, but they're very supportive of Vice President Šefčovič and of the Irish position that the law is the law. The treaty that we worked out and designed and ratified together is the basis for any agreement and compromise. But look, where we want to be right now is to be negotiating and discussing with the UK how we can resolve the outstanding issues in relation to protocol implementation, how we can respond to the unionist community that have been offended by elements of the protocol, and how we can do that in a comprehensive manner. And certainly the willingness of the European Commission and of Ireland to try to accommodate those concerns is very much there. What we can't do, though, is accept that the British government would act unilaterally. They would pass legislation to effectively breach international law, to set aside elements of a treaty that, of course, this Prime Minister was central to designing and putting in place, because that will cause an awful lot more problems than it will solve. So this is a time for calmness, it's a time for dialogue, it's a time for compromise and partnership between the EU and the UK to solve these outstanding issues. I think if that is the approach taken by the British government, we can make significant progress, and we can make progress quickly to respond to the concerns of both the business community and the unionist community in Northern Ireland. The alternative is unilateral action, which means tension, rancour, standoffs, legal challenges, and of course calls into question the functioning of the TCA itself, because the TCA and the withdrawal agreement are interlinked, if you like. They rely on each other. That is the last thing Europe needs right now, when we're working so well together in the face of Russian aggression and responding to the support needed for Ukraine at this time. That's the kind of partnership that's needed to resolve these issues as well, which seem very minor in comparison. But of course, for people in Northern Ireland in particular, it's important.
Minister, is there any hope from the more conciliatory tone from Prime Minister Boris Johnson overnight? Does that suggest that this was more drama internally in the Conservative Party that's just having international ripples?
Look, the Prime Minister is in Northern Ireland today, and I hope we'll get a message of a willingness to work together to try to respond to these issues. I mean, there are real issues in relation to the implementation of the protocol that needs the attention of both the UK and the EU working together to make sure that we can respond to concerns on the ground. We know what they are. I've spent a lot of time in Northern Ireland speaking to the business community, the unions community, and indeed the other parties. So we can't solely be focusing on one community and one political party here. This is about responding to the demands of Northern Ireland as a whole. And let's not forget, Northern Ireland voted against Brexit when they had the opportunity to do so. Northern Ireland, through its representatives, would vote in favour of the protocol tomorrow if asked to do so. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be trying to accommodate other opinions, because Northern Ireland is about compromise and trying to find middle ground positions that everybody can live with to maintain political stability there. And that's the approach we need to take at the moment, not unilateral action or threats of unilateral action, which I think is deeply unhelpful. And I hope that the Prime Minister's approach today in Northern Ireland will be about partnership and dialogue and compromise as opposed to anything else.
Minister, the next package of sanctions on Ukraine, we know that Hungary has objections. What is your view of Hungary's position, and do you think you can win them over today?
Well, my position is very clear on this, and Ireland's position is very clear on this. We need to get on and do this. We need to send a very clear signal to the Kremlin and to Moscow that the cost of their continuing war in Ukraine, which is completely unjustifiable, will continue to increase. And this is about a deterrent to the continuation of war. And so the sooner the EU can finalise that a sixth sanctions package, the better, and we'll be pushing today for progress in those efforts.
And if Hungary blocks it, what message will that send to the Kremlin?
Well, look, I mean, let's not focus on obstacles and negatives today. I think there is a very strong view within the European Union that we need to move on with a new sanctions package which increases the cost even further on Russia for continuing this war. And we need to work with our colleagues to try and find a way forward on that. These are difficult issues for some countries, Hungary included, because of their reliance on Russian oil and gas. And so we understand that these aren't easy decisions. And so that's why the Commission and others have tried to find ways in which we could manage that transition better for countries that are the most reliant on Russian oil and gas. So that's the conversation that's taking place. But I think the political message is clear. The EU wants to do this, and we want to do it as soon as we possibly can.
And sir, in the context of an actual war, isn't it almost surreal that we're debating a trade war between two blocs that are supposed to be allies?
Sorry, now, are you talking?
We're talking about, in the context of a war, we're also potentially debating that the EU, the UK, over this protocol could be locked into a trade war. What message are you sending to people? Isn't it almost surreal that this is happening at this time?
Well, look, I think certainly from our perspective, the EU and the UK need to be together at the moment, in partnership, focusing on responding to Russian aggression in Ukraine. Of course, the protocol issues and the Brexit issues have been under discussion for many years now, and we've seen a flaring up in the last week, largely because of media briefing out of London that the UK will move ahead unilaterally if it can't get what it wants on the protocol from the EU. I think that's unhelpful. But I also think we've seen a more conciliatory message from the British Prime Minister last night, and hopefully that will continue into today so that we can get back into a mode of cooperation and partnership to solve problems. Look, the problems and the challenges in relation to the protocol in Northern Ireland are very, very small problems in comparison to the challenges that we face in Ukraine as an international community, and to the challenges that Ukrainian people face. 5.5 million Ukrainians have had to flee into the EU for their own safety and for the safety of their families. That's what we need to be focusing on together. And UK-EU partnership is central to that response, and that is why other issues, in my view, need to be put into perspective, and we need to find sensible compromises and landing zones that can ensure that we're not having a quarrel over something when there are much, much bigger issues at play in Ukraine right now.
Something for the
Palestinian Authority that's back on your table again, no progress. Is there anything you could do to try and unblock this?
Well, I have to say I am very frustrated about this issue. The position of the vast majority of member states in the European Union is absolutely clear. There is no reason for the European Commission to delay over 300 million euros of funding for the Palestinian Authority. This is last year's funding we're talking about. And a month ago, Ireland raised this issue. We had a debate on it in the Foreign Affairs Council. Every minister, except one, spoke strongly in favour of the immediate release of that money. And we still haven't had progress on it. And so I will be asking questions again this afternoon in relation to that issue. This is EU money. It's not European Commission money. This is EU money, and EU countries want it released so that the Palestinian Authority can provide basic services to their people. And it shouldn't be delayed any further.
And Minister, there's one man blocking this, really. It's Commissioner VIDEOPORTAL. Do you have a message for him?
I'm not getting into the personalities of this. The policy is the issue that I'm interested in. The EU plays a really important part in funding basic infrastructure to allow Palestinian communities to live, to trade, to provide public services and so on, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare. These are times of tension in Palestine too, and we've seen that in recent days. And so the European Union should be giving a signal today that this money will be released and that we are there to support basic services on the ground for Palestinian people through the Palestinian Authority. And whatever the blockage is to that, we need to find a way of unblocking it so that we can be supporting stability in another part of the world that is feeling tension right now.
Sorry, Minister, you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And we think that the place of Georgia as the place of Ukraine and as the place of Moldova within the European Union.
Geht es natürlich auch weiter um die Sanktionspakete, wo man dann ein bisschen schaut, wie sehen Sie denn da die Szenarien, die möglichen, wie weit kann man da radikal?
Also ich bin zuversichtlich, dass wir in den nächsten Tagen das 6. Sanktionspaket zusammenbringen, das sehr substanziell sein wird. Dass es hier noch einen gewissen Diskussionsbedarf gibt, ist ganz klar. Ich glaube nur, es sollte in unserem Sinne sein, diese Diskussionen dort stattfinden zu lassen, wo sie sein sollten, nämlich im Rat, dass wir nicht öffentlich ein uneinheitliches Bild nach außen geben. Wir müssen wissen, Russland beobachtet uns und andere auch. Wir sind hier in einer konfrontativen Situation und wir haben es bisher bei 5 Sanktionspaketen geschafft, dass wir intern diskutiert haben und dann an die Öffentlichkeit gegangen sind, als wir eine Einigung hatten. Und ich würde sehr dafür plädieren, dass wir das diesmal auch so machen.
Da hat es jetzt schon auch Wortmeldungen von Kollegen gegeben, die gemeint haben, das wird teilweise in Geiselhaft genommen von einzelnen Ländern. Das heißt, das ist nicht hilfreich, dass jetzt das quasi wieder losgeht, diese Debatte.
Also ich glaube, das ist nicht hilfreich. Wir sollten, dass es einen Diskussionsbedarf gibt, ist klar. Nicht alle Staaten sind, wenn wir das Stichwort Erdöl nehmen, gleich exponiert und haben die gleichen Schwierigkeiten. Es gibt ein Bemühen, und das ist auch gut so, hier eine Einigung zu finden und mit Übergangsfristen oder anderen Möglichkeiten hier sozusagen Lösungen zu finden. Ich finde, die Diskussion sollte hinter geschlossenen Türen stattfinden. Wir sind in Europa wahnsinnig gut, uns immer wieder sozusagen uneinheitlich zu zeigen, kein Bild der Geschlossenheit abzugeben. Und ich glaube, in dieser Phase ist notwendig, dass wir weiterhin geeint und geschlossen auftreten.
Herr Minister, heißt das, dass es aus Ihrer Sicht strategisch unklug war, von der EU-Kommission dieses Paket auf den Tisch zu legen, wohl wissend, dass Länder wie Ungarn nicht in der Lage sein werden, dem zuzustimmen?
Also ich glaube, es ist notwendig einfach, dass wir, und das wäre mein Dafürhalten, dass man so etwas intern durchdiskutiert und dann an die Öffentlichkeit tritt, wenn man eine Einigung hat. Dass das natürlich bei solchen Themen schwierig ist und mit jedem Sanktionspaket auch schwieriger werden wird, ist verständlich. Aber noch einmal, wir sind in einer konfrontativen Situation und die Europäische Union hat es bis jetzt geschafft, ein unglaubliches Bild der Geschlossenheit abzugeben, der Einigkeit. Und wir sollten danach trachten, dass es so bleibt.
Hat die Kommission Fehler gemacht bei diesen Verhandlungen?
Ich werde mich jetzt nicht beteiligen, das wäre jetzt logisch ein bisschen im Widerspruch an solchen Diskussionen, sondern ich sage, bemühen wir uns hier eine Einigung zu finden, schauen wir darauf, dass wir dieses Sanktionspaket, das bitte nicht nur Erdöl betrifft, zustande bringen. Und ja, wir werden beobachtet von der Außenwelt. Und ja, es lastet eine große Verantwortung auf uns Europäer und wir sollten dieser genauso gerecht werden wie in den letzten 80 Tagen.
Gäbe es denn Ideen für Lösungen?
Es ist jetzt das 6. Sanktionspaket in Planung. Gibt es da eigentlich noch Luft nach oben für Maßnahmen gegen Russland?
Also ich finde zum Beispiel einen Bereich, wo wir sehr stark reingehen müssen und das auch werden, ist ein ganzer Militärkomplex in Russland. Das wäre auch Teil dieses Sanktionspakets. Es ist westliches Know-how verarbeitet dort. Es geht um Zulieferindustrien und ich glaube, dass wir auch sehen werden und sehen müssen, was wir schon erreicht haben. Zum Beispiel, wenn wir denken an die Luftfahrt. 187 Flugzeuge hat Aeroflot, nur 10 davon sind nicht westlicher Bauart. Das heißt nicht Boeing und nicht Airbus. Die werden alle demnächst am Boden stehen bleiben, weil sie keine sozusagen Ersatzteile mehr kriegen. Also wir haben schon viel erreicht, aber die Schrauben können noch weiter angezogen werden.
Wären Sie dafür, dass man eventuell Teile des Sanktionspakets beschließt, also quasi ohne Ölembargo?
Wie gesagt, ich glaube, diese Debatte soll dort geführt werden, wo sie geführt werden sollte, nämlich hinter geschlossenen Türen im Rat, und dass wir dann an die Öffentlichkeit treten, wenn wir eine Einigung haben. Das ist für mich als österreichischer Außenminister das Wesentliche. Geschlossenheit, gemeinsames Auftreten, gemeinsame Stimme nach außen von der Europäischen Union. Das haben wir bisher geschafft und das werden wir diesmal, glaube ich, auch schaffen.
Zum Westbalkan noch, Herr Außenminister, wie muss es denn da weitergehen? Welche Perspektiven braucht es jetzt? Wie muss die EU da sich aufstellen?
Ich glaube, beim Westbalkan gibt es eine ganz einfache sozusagen Titelzeile, jetzt machen wir bitte endlich Nägel mit Köpfen. Wir sind in einer Auseinandersetzung, wir müssen dieser Region klar signalisieren, was wir eigentlich seit 20 Jahren fast schon versprechen, seit dem Gipfel von Thessaloniki. Eure Zukunft ist innerhalb der Europäischen Union. Wir müssen also von den Lippenbekenntnissen wegkommen zu den tatsächlichen Akten und wir dürfen sie nicht verlieren. Und wir wissen, dass Russland ein Schädigungspotenzial hat, auch in dieser Region, dort für Unruhe stiften kann, sorgen kann, auch ohne einen einzigen Schuss abzugeben. Und das muss uns eigentlich in Alarm versetzen, weil das ist ja in Wirklichkeit in der Mitte der Europäischen Union. Das ist eine Region, die umgeben ist von EU-Mitgliedstaaten. Das ist unsere wesentlichste geostrategische Aufgabe, dass wir hier nachhaltig dafür sorgen, dass es das europäische Werte- und Lebensmodell ist, das zum Durchbruch kommt und nicht ein anderes. Es gibt in der Politik kein Vakuum. Es ist entweder unser Lebensmodell oder etwas von außen. Und das kann nicht in unser Interesse sein. Und da bin ich sehr dafür, dass wir das heute klar machen, dass das auch die Franzosen planen ja einen Westbalkan-Gipfel. Das unterstützen wir sehr. Wir haben große Erwartungen der französischen Präsidentschaft in diesem Zusammenhang. Wir müssen die Verhandlungen mit Nordmazedonien aufnehmen, mit Albanien aufnehmen. Wir müssen die Visaliberalisierung mit Kosovo thematisieren. Und wenn wir über die Ukraine reden, müssen wir auch über Bosnien-Herzegowina reden. Danke sehr.
The war of Ukraine with all the sanctions the Europeans gave, with the American. The war is going on, and actually it looks like it will go on. What could be your scenario to stop the war?
No, I believe that the approach the European Union has decided for the time being, together with the Western world, is the right one. We are reacting with very strong economic sanctions. We want to make the Russians understand that the costs are enormous for the war they're waging in Ukraine. And I believe we have to continue on this path, and we will. We are discussing now the 6th sanctions package. The European Union has decided more far-reaching sanctions on Russia than ever in the history of any third country. So this is a strong signal of unity, of cohesion within the European family, and I believe we will continue this path. And yes, hopefully the Russian leadership will understand that what they did is isolating themselves completely in the international world.
Will you give some security to Finland to join NATO?
I mean, we Austrians are not members of NATO. And I fully respect that Finland and Sweden are thinking about joining NATO, and this will probably take part very quickly, but that's their decision and not ours. Austria will continue to be a neutral country, but here again, it is a strong sign actually to the Russian president. He made NATO more relevant, and he achieved that further countries will join NATO. So that's a strategy which has blown back into his face.
Thank you very much.
Warum ist es denn so schwierig mit diesem Sanktionspaket?
Mit diesem
Sanktionspaket?
Ja, also wir sind noch nicht genau fertig. Das muss man so sehen. Man muss auch verstehen, dass verschiedene Länder da sehr stark natürlich beeinträchtigt werden. Die haben noch Zeit gefragt. Ich glaube, dass der Wille trotzdem da ist, dass wir dieses Paket auch hinbekommen. Aber wie gesagt, wir brauchen noch Zeit.
Einer Ihrer Kollegen sprach davon, dass Sie in Geiselhaft genommen werden von Ungarn. Wie sehen Sie denn das? Dass Sie in Geiselhaft genommen werden von Ungarn, sagte Herr Landsbergis.
Ja, also ich wäre da vorsichtiger aus meiner Sicht. Ich glaube, jeder weiß, dass wir dieses 6. Paket auch hinbekommen müssen, schon an dem 7. arbeiten. Aber jetzt, glaube ich, zu viel aggressiv diesmal gegen Ungarn zu gehen, das, glaube ich, ist wenig schwierig. Es ist ja nicht nur Ungarn, es sind auch andere Länder.
Man sprach ja von Übergangsfristen, vielleicht mehr Geld. Was wären denn Lösungen, um da zu einem Ergebnis zu kommen?
Ja, die Lösungen, die werden, glaube ich, im Coreper werden diskutiert. Sie werden auch heute angesprochen werden. Es gibt eigentlich keine Ausrede, dass wir dieses Paket hinbekommen. Wir müssen nur dann auch konkrete Solidarität unter allen 27 zeigen, dass wir den Ländern, die am meisten darunter leiden, dass wir denen helfen. Also ich glaube, wir dürfen uns auch jetzt nicht wieder auf der Peripherie des Wesentlichen verklemmen. Ich komme ja aus Berlin. Sie wissen, dass die NATO gestern sehr, sehr wichtig Perspektiven aufgezeichnet hat. Das ist sehr wichtig. Auch hier gibt es ja noch ein kleines Problem mit der Türkei. Auch hier brauchen wir noch Zeit. Also ich hoffe nicht zu lange, denn wenn das zu lange dauert, wäre das auch nicht gut. Ich will aber, wenn Sie das mir erlauben, 2 Sätze sagen zu etwas anderes. Denn die Welt ist natürlich fokussiert auf alles, was in der Ukraine geschieht. Aber es gibt noch anderweitig, gibt es, sagen wir mal, Ungerechtigkeit, die wir eigentlich als Europäische Union auch helfen müssen zu beseitigen. Wissen Sie, der Landraub, wenn man das so aggressiv sagen darf, das bezieht sich nicht, wenn man internationales Recht schaut, nur auf den Donbass und auf die Krim, sondern überall auf der Welt und auch im Westjordanland. Und man sieht, dass hier von der israelischen Regierung, das tut mir sehr weh, Entscheidungen getroffen werden, wo 4000 Wohnungen in illegalen Siedlungen, dass die eigentlich genehmigt werden. Das ist das Land von den Palästinensern weggenommen. Dabei kommt, dass 3000 Hektar, dass das eine große Fläche ist, die gebraucht wird, um militärische Übungen zu machen, auch im Westjordanland für die Israelis. Das ist gegen internationales Recht. Und ich glaube, das muss man unseren israelischen Freunden auch noch einmal sagen. Diese Debatte hatten wir schon unter Netanyahu in der letzten Zeit. Und das ist wieder, dass dieses tägliche Wegnehmen von Land der Palästinenser nie zu einer Lösung führen wird und dass eigentlich Israel das ja auch nicht notwendig ist. Das Zweite ist, aber das bezieht sich nicht auf Israel, das ist unser Problem hier. Seit Monaten wird hier diskutiert und versucht, eine Lösung zu finden. Wir blockieren über 200 Millionen für die Palästinenser in der Europäischen Kommission. Warum? Weil anscheinend, und vielleicht war das auch so, antisemitische Texte in Schulbüchern waren. Das ist aber alles kontrolliert worden von der UNESCO und das ist geregelt. Also müssen wir diese mehr als 200 Millionen deblockieren. Das geht aber nicht, auch wenn eine große Mehrheit im Rat damit einverstanden ist, weil es da eine Blockade von einem Kommissar gibt. Und ich wirklich frage, wenn es nur möglich ist, dass Borrell unterstützt wird, das ist der Außenbeauftragte, das ist der hohe Vertreter der Europäischen Union, er setzt sich sehr dafür ein, meine Wenigkeit und viele andere Minister auch. Es kann doch nicht sein, dass dann irgendwie die Präsidentin der Kommission da vorbeischaut. Sie muss das in die Augen schauen und helfen. Es geht um unsere Glaubwürdigkeit der Europäischen Union und es geht auch um die Glaubwürdigkeit. Wir müssen vielen Familien in Palästina, die sehr schlechtes Leben schon haben, müssen wir doch helfen finanziell und nicht dieses Geld aufstocken, wenn es keinen Sinn mehr macht, wie das bewiesen ist von der UNESCO selbst. Okay. Oui. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait, Joseph? Est-ce que je dois aller chez le...
Oui, Monsieur le ministre, avant tout, est-ce qu'après les Finlandes qui rejoint l'OTAN, Est-ce qu'il y a un risque de troisième guerre mondiale?
Non, pas du tout. Juste le contraire. Je pense que la Finlande et la Suède, je reviens de Berlin, tout le monde les accueillera avec beaucoup de... On est prêt à les accueillir parce que cela va renforcer l'OTAN et va renforcer aussi la sécurité des deux États et la sécurité de tous les États de l'OTAN. Il y a encore un petit problème à résoudre avec la Turquie. Il faut encore du temps. Il faut observer, écouter les critiques, les points d'interrogation de la Turquie. Et puis, il ne faut pas attendre trop longtemps, mais je suis convaincu qu'on va trouver une solution.
Un journaliste palestinien était mort avec... Et surtout, il n'y a même pas une sanction contre l'Israël.
Non, je pense que c'est vraiment... Je me réjouis que même le secrétaire d'État américain l'a souligné, que cela est inacceptable. Inacceptable. C'est aussi un coup contre la liberté de presse. Et donc il faut une enquête, et il faut que les responsables de cet acte contre cette dame très connue, très populaire et excellente journaliste qui a perdu sa vie. On ne peut pas lui redonner la vie, mais au moins, vraiment, il faut que les responsabilités soient clairement établies.
Ma dernière question, il y a pas mal de pays, dans les pays arabes, qui payent très cher les guerres entre la Russie et l'Ukraine, parce qu'il n'y a pas de l'argent, il n'y a pas d'économie qui les tombe. Est-ce que les Européens qui font quelque chose pour s'appuyer, pour forcer les pays?
Mais votre question, elle est mal posée. Ce n'est pas les guerres entre la Russie et l'Ukraine, c'est la Russie qui attaque l'Ukraine. Ce n'est pas l'Ukraine qui attaque la Russie. Hein. Donc il faut faire attention. Hein. Ça, c'est une chose. La deuxième chose, ce ne sont pas les sanctions qui déclenchent les problèmes en Afrique. C'est la guerre qui déclenche les problèmes. Et c'est pour ça que l'Europe fait beaucoup et fera beaucoup pour aider tous les pays sur la planète qui ont des problèmes avec les moyens dont nous disposons. Je pense que, permettez-moi de le dire, le plus il y a de solidarité envers les sanctions prises à l'égard de la Russie pour que la Russie arrête, au moins arrive à faire un cessez-le-feu, mais s'il y a des pays qui ne s'intéressent pas à ce qu'on a décidé ici pour arrêter cette guerre, la guerre va continuer. C'est ça malheureusement le problème.
Minister, in English, if the European Union cannot... Okay.
Sorry.
Hallo.